Now to taste. So there's a few wines in the selection here. It's a little bit of a tour of the Okanagan Valley and our vineyard specifically. But the one wine I love starting with in any tour or tasting that I do is our Sauvignon Blanc Semillon. For a variety of reasons. One, it introduces our Select Lot collection tier of wines, which is the blocks of vineyards that we've worked really hard to isolate and prune separately, pick separately, ferment separately. It makes up about 5% of our total production, but probably takes up about 95% of our time, love, and effort. So the reason I like this as an introduction is the Semillon component is right from Misison, right near the Washington border. The Sauvignon Blanc there's some components from Oliver and there's some from Naramata. The idea here is that the Sauvignon Blanc that you get from Naramata, a little cooler climate influence, a little more citrus-based lemon lime, a little bit of the herbaceous note to it, as opposed to the Sauvignon Blanc and Oliver where you're picking up more kind of red grapefruit or mandarin or tangerine sort of notes. And then the Semillon we use to really just broaden the palate and create a Sauvignon Blanc that's a little less austere or a little less grassy than some from around the world, and I think it's just a great indication of the Okanagan in general. We also barrel ferment about a third of this depending on the vintage. Again, just to not give it oaky flavor, it's all older barrels, but to just broaden the mouthfeel and give a really complex, rich wine, but one that remains refreshing and crisp. So I always describe it as my mother's perfect lobster wine. You have a bit of the rich, creamy character, you've got a lot of lemon and citrus qualities, and so what do you do with lobster? You squeeze some lemon on it and dip it in butter. I propose you skip the 2 steps and just have it with this. It's just great acidity, great richness, a lot of different fruits and verging on kind of tropical citrus, but the overwhelming impression is just really makes your mouth water and makes you want to have another sip or another bite of food, as the case may be. In distinction from this particular wine, we're going to what's our flagship white wine called Perpetua, 100% Chardonnay. This is the first single vineyard wine we've ever done, as opposed to blending the different regions, like as in the case of the Sauvignon Blanc Semillon. Here we're really focusing on what we call our legacy vineyard, our oldest vineyard that we have established. And here in the Chardonnay, we're not going for a really rich, opulent style of Chard, but rather a much more elegant, sexy, balanced style of Chardonnay. What I mean by that, we really reduce the oak influence on this. It's 25% of the wine's barrel fermented and aged, the rest coming from stainless steel fruit. The oak that we do use is the best French oak barrels we have, but we really want to see what the vineyard's showing and not what the barrel's showing in this case. So here we're looking for minerality, we're looking for citrus, we're looking for rich fruits, but at the same time we want everything to be in proportion with each other. We do have a little bit of a blending element in the sense that it's 3 different clones. One clone, basically a Chardonnay Musqué clone, giving a really kind of floral, muscatty aroma to it. Another clone that's much more citrus-based, kind of lemon lime rind finish to it. And then a clone that really drags the fruit towards a more tropical kind of version. But here, overall, we're just going for real balance and elegance and reflecting the Asuyus or legacy vineyard that we get it from. There is definitely a little bit of that, nice vanilla French oak kind of note, just enough to put it behind your ears or so, but the real predominant aspect of this wine is just really fresh, great Chardonnay character. Going to the opposite extreme of the valley, we have our Riesling here, a reserve Riesling from 2007. We're getting our best Riesling we find from Kelowna and West Bank area. Being a little further north, we have less degree days, and basically we're just trying to get the Riesling to ripen in a real gradual sort of way. So in Kelowna, for example, it's on a north-facing slope. In West Bank, we have it at a relatively high altitude. So the Riesling, if it's left just to Oliver or Asuyus, tends to lose its acidity, risk becoming a little bit flabby. Here we really want to have a nice minerality, nice ripe fruit, and peach character to it, but Riesling without that kind of razor edge of acidity to me is it's just not Riesling. So here we do blend a little bit of fruit from Oliver, which gives it kind of that ripe Riesling character, but the dominant part of this Riesling is from the Kelowna West Bank area, which gives it a lot more the minerality and the freshness and that razor edge acidity. Lots of great fruit, but the real greatest part about that wine is just this real mouth-watering acidity that makes me really want to pair it with charcuterie, duck confit, a little bit of an Asian fare. It has about 11 grams of residual sugar, but in balance with the acid, I just find it kind of a kiss of honey and not sweet as far as sweet wines go. Similar kind of concept going on with our Pinot Noir. We've learned that moving the Pinot Noir up the valley, getting it to cooler climates, letting it ripen a little more slowly has been really beneficial to our Pinot program. We're finding our best Pinot actually on Mission Hill Road Vineyard in Westbank. In this particular style of Pinot, we're not going for a big extracted style. There's absolutely no new oak used in the barrel aging process. We want just a feminine, light, elegant, sexy kind of Pinot Noir, spicy, red fruits, but you know, a real light body to go with Pacific salmon or game birds or that kind of thing. We do, of course, want, like any good Pinot, for this to reflect the vineyard. The vineyard that the most part of this Pinot comes from is volcanic-based soils. Mount Boucherie that we're standing on now is a volcano that was 2 kilometers in diameter and really formed the whole structure of this northern part of the Okanagan Valley. As a result, you have this really mineral-based soil that we're growing this Pinot on, and we like to look for a little minerality in the Pinot, along with, as I said, red fruits, milk chocolate, and really kind of fine, light tannins to it. Nice, light, again, mouth-watering. You'll see me saying that over and over. You know, John Symes really makes our wines for the dinner table. There's always going to be, you know, an acidic component or a tannic component in the case of the reds, balanced with really nice ripe fruit. And that's exactly what you got going on in that Pinot. Next on the list, we're going back down south the valley. The Merlot from 2003. 2003 was a very interesting vintage for us. The hottest vintage we've ever had in the Okanagan, and probably the best vintage we've ever had for reds, had there not been massive forest fires in the valley too, which made it a bit of a trick for us. You know, every time you think Mother Nature's on your side, she goes the other way. So in this particular wine, you get really ripe fruit, almost verging on kind of like prunes or figs, and then a little whiff of smoke as a result of the smoke hanging in the air that year. So in terms of grilled meats or barbecue fare, it's tickety-boo. But Merlot is probably the calling card of the Okanagan as far as red wines go. By quite a significant margin, the most widely planted grape, and a lot of the wineries in the area have felt that this is the most successful grape for the southern Okanagan particularly. But here we're going for dusty, earthy, ripe fruits, nice fine tannins, but again, like a distinctly Okanagan version of Merlot. Becomes harder to spit at this point. What we're really going after here is balance again, and I keep berating the topic, but there's nothing jammy about this. There's nothing, the alcohol is around 13.5% in most years. So we're really trying to emphasize, you know, ripe fruit, nice acids, fine tannins, and you know, a Merlot that just screams out for lamb, or something that says ba or moo. But really, you know, full bodied, but with all the parts in the right places. Which leads us to Oculus, which is always a Merlot-based blend. In 2005, it's 42% Merlot. In a colder vintage like 2004, it'll be 72% Merlot, balanced by Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon, Petit Verdot. 2005 is probably our most successful Oculus to date. We had a really nice growing season, a really short crop, which, you know, showed itself quite well in this wine. This is wine that's all fermented in oak fermenters, lending to softer mouthfeel, a bit finer tannins. But everything we do red wine-wise really begins with Oculus and kind of filters down from there. It makes up about 1.5% of our production, and takes up, you know, as much time as any other wine. What we're trying to do here is really reflect the southern valley. By that I mean we're trying to find the best Merlot from our Golden Mile vineyard, the best Merlot from our Soyuz vineyard, Black Sage vineyard, and of course multiply that by 4 varietals, multiply that 4 different barrel types, and trying to get the most complexity we can possibly have in a red wine in the Okanagan Valley. Pomerol and Saint-Emilion definitely inspired us, but we feel that we're getting a really unique take on a Bordeaux blend in the valley, and this is a wine that we're extremely proud of, and I think is one of the benchmark wines for the